So on today's podcast, we have Akeem Pierre. Akeem is a content creator and a wellness entrepreneur. He's a former collegiate athlete and the founder of Rich Soul Foods and Beyond Wellness Retreats. Nutrition, routine, and mindfulness are all integral parts of his practice and at the core of his success. Let's tune in. Life through the lens of Akeem Pierre. What's up, man?
Blessings. Feeling good, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm really happy to have you here.
Good, thanks,
Happy New Year, by the way.
Happy New Year.
Yeah,
Much
yeah.
blessed.
So I think it's back 2008, man. I was a young basketball player. I think this is at, what's the name of the stadium downtown? Not Swangard. It's BC Place.
Mm-hmm.
You know, BC Championships. I think you went to R.C. Palmer Secondary School, AAA All-Star. I kind of want you to give us a little bit of a journey through maybe it's elementary Akeem all the way to collegiate Akeem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give thanks. Well, first, it's an honor to be on the podcast. Much love. Epic to see you doing this. I'm excited to be a part of it.
Thanks,
And yeah, man. So elementary is when I started playing basketball, started hooping. I really just played to follow my brother. You know what I mean? It's one of those things like, oh, it's my big bro. He switched from soccer to basketball. I switched from soccer to basketball. And basically played basketball from then all the way to college. And I did play some football for a little bit. And but when I moved from Calgary to BC in grade 9.
Okay.
And when I moved from Calgary to BC, it was like there was no football team at my high school. And I went to Richmond, R.C. Palmer, so like there wasn't big sports programs, you know, so there's only one school in Richmond that had a football team.
Mm-hmm.
So I put that to the side and then just really focus on basketball. And once I moved to BC, it was like the blessings came flowing in because found out about provincial teams, so started playing on provincial teams, started going to these different Center for Performance, like these training camps, and I was being surrounded by top-tier athletes.
Right.
You know, because Calgary, it was Alberta, and Alberta's Calgary and Edmonton, so that's like 2 hours apart, kind of far.
Yeah.
But BC's like everyone's, for the most part, sort of close in Vancouver, the Lower Mainland, for the most part, you know, most of the people. So, like, it was just epic to be exposed to that level when I moved here to BC, and then to just be welcomed, you know, in a new place. It was epic, man. So once we came to Palmer, we turned Palmer into a basketball school once again, and it was epic. You know, I fell into a great program, you know, because I actually got rejected from 2 schools in Richmond.
Really?
Yeah.
Big mistake.
Big mistake. It was Burnett and Richmond High. Both schools rejected me, and those were both our rivals.
Never forget it. Never forget it.
You know, so, yeah, man, that just took me through it. Just focus on hooping, really. That was my life. You know, ball is life, provincial teams, just looking to do my best and make it pro really was the focus, you know?
Absolutely. And you had a coach there, coaching legend for BC is Paul Eberhardt, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure you learned a lot about like leadership and those types of things from him.
Mm-hmm.
So post high school, I think you guys at the provincials, I think you guys came like 4th place.
Yeah.
Went deep.
Mm-hmm.
You had a lot of points too. Like I just remember when I was in the 8th grade, like watching it from the stands, really.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was supporting my high school. We didn't do too well, but I got to see you, and it was inspiring to see someone my size.
Yeah.
You know, we're not the biggest basketball players, but jumping out the gym, I was like, man, like, that's got to be 40 plus. Like, this man's put the ball through his legs. It's crazy. And so, honestly, it inspired me a lot at that age to be kind of, you know, following in those footsteps. Like, I had the opportunity to do a little bit of the CP stuff myself and thinking, yo, like, this guy is doing everything and defeating the odds of what people are telling me regularly, which I'm too small, I'm too this. And so it was really cool to see that. And then, you know, I followed your journey to, I think it was UBC after that, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And if you could talk a little bit about that, just like what kind of program you were in and your experience just like showing up to campus maybe first time.
Yeah, yo, it was epic because UBC was just coming off like being ranked 2nd, I think, for the country, and they didn't lose any players. You know, so I was going to a team full of veterans and a team that been playing together, and it was me and it was like my brother's good friend, Josh White. We were the only 2 new players, but Josh White was a transfer. So he was 3rd year. He was nice, you know, so he was coming in nice. I was coming in as a rookie. And it was legendary to just be around these veterans, you know, like gotta shout out Blaine, the OG. He was like 23, you know, when I was going into university, 18. So he really took me under his wing and mentored me a lot, helped me stay focused. You know, because when you're going to a campus like UBC, it's a huge school. It's basically a city. So there's a lot of opportunities for distractions,
Absolutely.
for losing focus, and forgetting what you came there for in the first place. So I was blessed. He was a blessed mentor for me, and just being in that professional environment, you know, because they took care of us at UBC. You know, we were living good. It was fun times. You know, I have nothing really bad to say about those times. It was like super blessed.
Yeah.
But the thing is, for me, I actually got injured my first week on campus.
Oh.
Yeah, yo. So it was 1 week into practice and training camp, and I was a rookie, so they had me going doing all these different things. And one day I came to practice late because I had to go to this event. And I just like, you know, I'm the rookie. I come show up. I don't need to warm up. I need to show them I could hoop.
Right.
You know? So I was like, I didn't want to take any time to warm up or anything. And I ended up hurting my knee. And then that really plagued me for the next 3 years. You know, so I didn't really get a chance to play at UBC. You know, not too many people know that. But like when I was in physio, they were basically giving me 1 day on, 1 day off.
That's
you know,
tough.
so I did that for 2 years. And then I redshirted so I could just finally just rest and give my body the rest that it needed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But being there at UBC, man, was epic experience, you know, to see how, just to see what it's like to feel that love that you get on a campus, because they love the athletes there, you know, a lot of love, and just a beautiful place to be. A lot of exposure to different cultures at UBC with the international students. So it was just a big eye-opener for me. And then school-wise, it was cool because like the UBC professors were like, they were the ones writing the textbooks. You know what I mean? They were the ones writing these essays and things. So it was like, this one guy was talking about stock theories, and I never was interested in stocks back then, but now I'm interested in stocks and investing. And this guy was writing, he was like, he didn't even have a textbook. He was writing all these theories off of his mind and just sharing with us, you know? So it was like, that kind of stuff stuck with me, and just seeing the level of excellence, you know what I mean? So that's really what UBC is, this excellence, you know what I mean?
Cool. So I actually didn't know that about UBC. Because I think when I seen you play, I think you finished your career at TRU. Yep. And so that's kind of like the next journey for you, is getting over there. Yeah. And probably because of the injuries and the things you went through, like the day-to-day was probably a little bit different than your teammates when you're at UBC. But as like a collegiate athlete, I think I understand like the daily hustle that it is to be like a collegiate athlete, you know, in terms of schoolwork, in terms of early mornings, in terms of training. And I think a lot of people, you know, you'll hear a lot like, oh, you're so lucky to have this in terms of your scholarship and all these things. Can you speak on like maybe when you get to TRU, like what is the day to day for you, and what does it look like to be like hustling, you know?
TRU day to day, man. Like when I moved to TRU to Kamloops, it was an awakening call, man. Like it was like, damn, this place is boring. It was like, what? There is nothing to do here, you know? It was a complete 180 from UBC, you know, because UBC, there was so much to do, so many people, it was lively. Vancouver was right there. So it was an awesome vibe. Plus, I felt like I was surrounded by more excellence at UBC. So we would get our work done and have fun. You know what I mean? But for some reason at TRU, everybody was always studying. Everyone was always studying. But for me, it was like school was super easy. You know, it was like moving from UBC to TRU, it was like, this is so easy. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
class size is smaller?
Class size smaller, and they were slower. You know what I mean? The professors weren't like that high level, like, you know, let's go, pick it up. You know, y'all got to be the best. It was kind of, you know, I would say it was like, you know, kind of like mediocre. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like the school was quite easy, you know? And then just at TRU, it was basically waking up. So my first year, I was at 2 years at TRU. My first year and my second year were like completely different. right? My first year, I would say I was like more of the regular athlete, where I wake up, go to the gym, or we have the early practices. We go for runs in the morning and then in class, and then, you know, do some schoolwork and shoot around, and then just like have fun, play around, play video games. You know what I mean? But in my second year, it was like I went into self-isolation, you know, before self-isolation was the thing. I went into self-isolation, and what I mean by that is I would go to school and I would be a athlete. I would be the captain of the basketball team. Otherwise, other than that, I would be at home. I would be meditating. I would be reading. I would be studying, and I would be stretching. You know what I mean? So it was that second year in TRU where I really tapped into the power of self.
Yep.
And realized that, you know, I'm more than just an athlete. You know, before that, I was like, you know, if I was hurt, my whole self-worth went down. You know, and then in that year of TRU, because there was not much to do, it turned me internal. And then I discovered meditation. There was a couple books that I found I started reading. And so that was my day-to-day at UBC, at TRU in that second year, was waking up, you know, going to practice, and then I'd go to class, and then I'd be meditating in between class. You know, I have a little bit of time. I'd be in some corner in the school, and I'd be meditating. And then in the afternoons would be like my teammates. I lived with them. You know, I was in my room. I was meditating. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was reading. I was studying. So that was a little bit of a shift for me that kind of led the way for this part of my life here.
Absolutely. So yeah, like that's a crazy transition, and it's very unique of someone to have that revelation at such a young age. You know, like a lot of pro athletes talk about dying twice, and it's like they've never defined themselves by anything but what they've done on the court or what they've done on the field. So to have that revelation, like, you know, year 2 of college, that's some powerful stuff. I'm just curious to know, like, you know, you talked about there was that transition. Was there something that like sparked it, like specifically? Like you're sitting in your room, you're like, man, I'm just bored. I'm gonna Google search this right now. Like,
so it was in that first year, the transfer Justin King, and he's still to this day one of my best friends. He would put me on some conspiracy theories, you know? So the first year at TRU was conspiracy theories. And then he left in that second year, so I was just there kind of solo dolo. And it wasn't really like there was a specific moment that sparked it. It was like I had a book, like my friend gifted me a book that I just started reading that book. And then I ended up coming on this meditation on YouTube. Then I found Alan Watts, and all of these things just kind of came together at the perfect time, you know, and just aligned. I don't know really how it happened, but like, you know, just, there was actually an epic guy. His name was Yvonne, and he was a guru for me. He was a legend. And
shout out Yvonne.
I don't know where you're at. Much love though. But he would say, like, one day I was at the club and I was wanting to see this girl, and I saw him outside of the club, and I went to him. I'm like, oh, yo, that girl left. I was trying to see. He's like, bro, you've got to be more independent. I was like, but bro, I'm trying to see her, you know, just trying to vibe, trying to have fun. He's like, bro, you've got to be more independent. And then they're just like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then like all these things just lined up for me, you know? So just grateful for the alignment.
That's awesome. And then, yeah, like, so obviously the mindfulness, the meditation had brought you to where you are today. And with your 2 brands, like Beyond Wellness and Rich Soul, before that though, there was, you know, the leadership groups, there was the Lululemon events, there was the strength and conditioning, and a friend of mine, Tiernan Doherty, he wanted me to come and work with you on mobility. So I guess in terms, obviously we know like about your businesses, but were there businesses before that? And like what was kind of the transition between, you know, there to Rich Soul and these other brands?
Yeah, man. So I went on exchange to Colombia for a year.
Okay.
So I spent a year in Colombia, and I started business out there. I was
This
running
is right
basketball
after
camps.
school?
I went on exchange. So like my last year of university
With the program. Gotcha.
was in Colombia.
Cool.
You know what I mean? I was like, I need something new. I need to, something fresh. So went out there to Colombia, and I started a basketball camp out there, and had a nice group of youths. And when I came back to Canada, I started working with this one company I was outside sales for herbs. So in Colombia, I was exposed to the natural life, the different, just the fruits I had no idea existed. The eggs were different, like everything was different. And then when I came back, I got exposed to this job selling herbs. And then after that, I was like, I'm gonna become a personal trainer and continue on the athlete side of things. So got my certification, and then I worked for a gym for a couple months, and then I decided to go independent. And then so I was a personal trainer from, let's say, 2016 to 2019. Gotcha. So like a good 3 years.
Yep.
And that was my main business, main source of revenue. And with that, I was looking to bring forward more movement and mobility training of not so much performance, but like, how do you feel in your body? What do you know about your body?
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because as a high-level athlete, we never got taught that. And that was never something that we, was brought up. So once I got that awareness and it changed my life and how I felt in my body, I wanted to share that. So that's more what my personal training was about.
Yeah. Mindset,
coaching, mobility, movement, and just like explore your body, understand what it can do before you try to lift all these heavy weights.
Yeah.
So that was the foundation of that. And then while I was doing that, I was trying to start a couple brands.
Yep.
So there was one called Adapto Energy, and that was a supplement mix, like a powder mix.
Okay.
And that was one, and that was based on adaptogens before adaptogens were popular.
Cool.
So
yeah.
But I was afraid. I didn't know what to do once I had the product, and I was like, I just kind of froze and I stopped it.
Mm-hmm.
And then a year later, 2018, 2017, 18, I started a toothpaste product. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Designed the product, created the recipe, everything. And then once again, we had the product, everything, labels ready to go, froze up. Didn't do anything with it. So that's just to the side, So I had two learning opportunities through these products that never got launched.
Yep.
And then in 2017, I went to St. Lucia, and I met my cousin, Honorable Priest Kailash, and he had his retreat center, which it only had one cottage at the time, but I saw the vision of let's build some cottages out here and let's have more people out here to experience what I experienced. So it just started like that, and by that time I was already creating content. So I was on YouTube, and the main reason for me getting on YouTube was just to share my journey, because I'm like, this is unique. What I'm doing, looking at how I look, I don't see other people really talking about this kind of stuff. So Absolutely. I'm like, let me come forward and let me share. And then from there, it was just like, I created businesses off of things that I loved, that I wanted to do. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I love to travel, be in the Caribbean, and just vibe with people on a mental health and just living your best life tip. So let's do a retreat and let's have a business centered around that. And then when it comes to the herbs and rich soul foods and the sea moss, it was very similar. Like my first YouTube video was on sea moss. Mm-hmm. And it was like, people were asking me like, I want to buy from you. I want to buy from you. And then people would call me from YouTube, be like, yo, follow you on YouTube, man. I want to buy products from you, man. Like, I go for you for the information, but I got to go somewhere else for the products. It's like, I don't like that. I want to get everything from you.
Right.
So I went to St. Lucia, and then my cousin had the plug on all these products.
Light bulb.
Mm-hmm. So It's like, all right, let's go. And that's really how that started.
No, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things you were saying is about like, with the personal training, you're focused on how things feel. Mm-hmm. That's one of the biggest struggles for me, is especially like I played football, and so my at the pro level, it's a little different. At the college level, my coaches were always just telling me, yo, you're too light. You need to, like, it was all about what I looked like, not how fast I was running, all the things that I was doing well. It was about, well, you need to be this specific weight and size for you to fit, like, be a starter or whatever it was. And eat a couple hamburgers, eat some McFlurries, and hit more weights, do more bench press. And that shit used to drive me crazy, because it's like, okay, I put on all this weight, and the first thing that happened to me, injury. You know, is like I probably came in 160 pounds, went to 195, and now I'm running around same speed, but everything hurts. And shout out to the podcast, but everything hurts, and it's like, yo, I can't move like this. I need to do it like my way, and I need to understand like how my body wants to do it. And I knew that wasn't the way my body wanted to do it. And I think that's a big message when I read your content and when I'm listening to your videos. You speak a lot about similar to like an elimination diet. How does food make you feel? How does movement make you feel? And for me, that's when I started tapping into like the yoga, the mobility, and like even like a little bit of the Pilates. People say, oh, that's like the feminine way to train or whatever. It's like, no, that's like building the foundation. And after the foundation's built, we can kind of, you know, build on top of that. How do you incorporate that in, like, I guess your routine, but also with your brand? Like, how do you speak to that?
The specifically how it feels with movement, or just in general, how do things feel and tuning in?
So with movement specifically.
So with movement, it's just for example, in our office, like we have a daily stretch. You know what I mean? So like we stretch. You know, I'll be like, okay, did y'all stretch today? You know what I mean? Like, why not? Like, we got to stretch. You know what I mean? Stretch up. So we start the shifts with stretching. Cool. And then downstairs in the warehouse, we got the pull-up bars. You know what I mean? So you go hang. And then upstairs we have rings. So like, once again, go hang, get your movement in. When you walk by, just hang. You know what I mean? Just hang for 10, 15, 20 seconds.
Cool.
And then also, like right now, we actually have a yoga class going on at the warehouse. So it's just like looking at how to just share the practice with others, you know. So at the office, it's just a practice that we have, you know. Upstairs, there's a room where you could just lie down and chill with yoga mats and stretch. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's just a part of it. And then for myself, it's I wake up and go to the gym, you know. So that's a part of my routine there. And within that, I incorporate mobility into my lifts. You know what I mean? So I do lifts that are strength and mobility, you know, and then every evening I'm just stretching. And then throughout the day, I just want to be in tune with my body. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, how's my posture? How am I feeling? Like, stretch throughout the day. You know what I mean? If you want to sit with your leg up on your knee, stretch and just be there and stretch. You know what I mean? So just with that. But there was a time, man, where I was just working through the pandemic, and I didn't have many workers because everyone's just at home getting their serve and loving it. Right. So, you know, I was just there, and that was a time where I really fell off of the routines. You know, it was like a big portion of time.
So many more moving parts for you,
so many more moving parts, yeah. So that's when I really got to understand the importance of like just committing to something that isn't your whole life. Yeah. You know, because before all this, basketball and fitness was my whole life. As a personal trainer, it's my whole life. But when I became an entrepreneur, fitness and movement, all that was like an extra thing. That was like something I do for me. So I had to reevaluate how that is going to be incorporated into my life. And there was a time where I wasn't really going to the gym. I wasn't really taking care of the physical the way I knew I wanted to. So then I just reevaluated and then just put things on my schedule and then made it important and committed. Yeah.
No, it's interesting, like in having like the employees and everybody like working together like on their own fitness goals, like whether it be the yoga classes or the stretching, because it's, you know, you feel good, perform better, but it's also a sense of community, you know, and it's a way to, you know, have people open up and be comfortable within their bodies around other people. It's really interesting. And so, you know, you speak on like your daily routine. A question I have is like, if I was to go into your place without like being totally invasive here. Like, what things would I find that you wouldn't find at other houses?
A bunch of plants.
Bunch of plants.
That's probably one thing. I have a lot of messages on my walls.
Yeah.
That you may not find at other places. Like, when you walk in, you just see a sign that say you're easy to love. Loving you is easy. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things when I look around to see reminders of that the power that we have, the power that is within. And then my water system, my water filtration system is something there. I have a room dedicated to stretching, it's like the vibes room. You know what I mean? Cool. So you walk in there, got my altar, just a place for you to just lie down, relax, and just vibe, meditate. You know what I mean? So there's just a room dedicated to that. And then I got like balls, like lacrosse balls on the floor. Different things to stretch around, like dollies. What are those things called with the sticks? Like the
dowels.
Dowels, yeah. Dowels, different things to roll out the feet. You know what I mean? My shower head has a filter on it. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. So just like to look at the different things in our homes that put an extra burden on us, whether it's like extra toxins or clutter, and I just want to try to minimize that clutter. And that's been a process where I'm finally feeling really good about it. It's been a couple of years to find that vibe in my space. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's good. Yeah, in terms of like the products, I've tried like the bladder whack and the sea moss, and a lot of this is like anti-inflammatory for me, right? Like the purpose is like, I have joint pain, I have sometimes like bad skin. I feel like all these things are super helpful for it, and like the main reason is because of the minerals, right? Maybe if you could speak a little bit on the importance of minerals, because I don't think a lot of people really grasp that when they think of nutrition. They think of like the macros, the carbs, protein, fats, but they're not really like thinking of what transfers it there and like sort of thing. So
yeah, man, my thing that I heard that just like is stuck with me is like we're overfed but undernourished. You know what I mean? So it's like, that makes no sense. Like, how are we overfed? Obesity is an issue, yet we're undernourished. We don't have enough nourishment to thrive. We're deficient in all these different things. You don't hear people say you're fat deficient, you're protein deficient, you're carb deficient. You don't really hear people saying that, right? But when you hear people saying you're B12 deficient, deficient in magnesium, deficient in iron, so it's just these things that it blows my mind, man, that we don't talk more about this. Like, for example, like women, they have their cycle once a month, and there's a lot of blood that's being lost. And in that blood is minerals and a lot of iron, right? So what's being done to replace that iron in the blood? And these are things that just, going to the retreat, going to St. Lucia and just learning a lot, I'm like realizing like there's certain things that we know happen that we could prevent by thinking on the mineral aspect, but it's just so out of our consciousness that we just let it go by, and then we deal with the consequences like we have no control over it. So it's like, it blows my mind. But when I think of minerals, I think of minerals as like the structure to the body, and the macronutrients is sort of like the energy, like the gas, what gets it going. You know what I mean? That's what you're burning for the most part, or storing to be burned. So, and then definitely protein is for the muscles, you know what I mean? But we're talking about even the bones. You know what I mean? Like, what's making up of the bones? People will tell you calcium. Right? But then you think, okay, it's calcium only. But when you really look into it, you realize that calcium, like minerals come together, like they like to go to the party together, So if you only have one calcium, it's going to be lonely and it won't be able to do its job properly. So when you thinking about bones, you got to think about calcium, magnesium, and vitamin K2, even vitamin D. So if that's not all together, then it's it's just, it's not going to help you. So like,
Interesting.
you know, like they say, because this came up when like my grandma I was just learning, and my grandma was telling me, oh, she's taking calcium. And they say once you're over a certain age, you got to take calcium for strong bones. They tell you drink milk for calcium for strong bones, right? But then they don't tell you that if you just take calcium, the calcium isn't going to go to your bones. It's going to be stuck in your arteries, because magnesium is the thing that directs it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's if there's too much, it takes it away. You know what I mean? So it's just these things where it's the foundational element. You could be so tired and think you need coffee, you need carbohydrates, you need whatever, caffeine, energy drinks, but like it could just be deficient on magnesium. You know what I mean? You could be deficient on iron, so your body isn't able to transport oxygen and nutrients. You know what I mean? So like when you look into it, there's so many different little issues that we deal with on the daily that for the most part is due to mineral deficiency. So once we raise the awareness of mineral deficiency, if we're having a hard time with our metabolism, you know, you have iodine. It deals with the thyroid. That's what regulates your metabolism. You know what I mean? So it's these certain things where we don't speak about enough, and we just live with the repercussions as if there is no solutions.
Yeah.
So with what we're doing with Rich Soul Foods, and just with like, just, you know, sharing, and what's interesting to me is like, that's not regular. That's not normal. We shouldn't be accepting this like it's normal and like we have nothing to do about it. So it's like, let's take control of our health. And I say count colors, not calories, right? Because when you look at colors, when you look at the color green, right, you're going to see that's magnesium, right? So when you look at the different colors in nature, it's going to give you certain things. So it's count colors, not calories. So if you look at your plate and you see a rainbow, for the most part, you got all the minerals that you need on that plate. So it's just these different ideas and principles that is going to help us rethink the way we approach food and diet, and give us a better understanding of ourselves.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, I never thought of it like that. It's interesting because there's a lot of greens on my plate, but there's not a lot of any other color, you know, so.
The red, heart health. The yellow and the orange, digestion.
Yeah.
The purple, the blues is immunity. So like all these different things, you know, once you look at, you don't need to be a genius. You just need to see colors, and okay, we got all the colors. We good.
Yeah. No, that's really good. With regards to like the content, obviously like you're a phenomenal public speaker. You always bring like really good energy to any conversation, whether it's you to camera or it's in this podcast. Stop touching things. Did you always have that confidence when it came to like being in front of camera, having conversations with people, or is it something that you had to develop?
I definitely developed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So much content unreleased.
Yeah.
Have so much content, and it was something I definitely practiced and worked on. So my intro, I practiced the intro. I studied it. At the end of the day, I studied content creation. I studied speaking, not so much public speaking, but more speaking to a camera.
Yeah.
You know, I studied that, and I practiced, and I got my reps up. You know, and I had that natural energy. I can say like the energy was there.
Yeah.
You know, so once I was comfortable, I'm going to be energizing. I'm going to bring that energy.
Right.
But, you know, for my first videos, it took me about a year or 2 years where every time I go live, my heart's beating. So when I had my podcast in 2016, I would not go live until like 5 minutes into the podcast. So I didn't want people to see that first bit of me where I'm having my voice a little shaky.
Yeah.
You know, and if you go to my second video on YouTube, I don't know if people notice it, but my voice is like shaky. You know, I notice I'm like kind of nervous and scared, but I just put the pressure on myself. So that was like, my friend was coming over. I'm like, yo, we're going to film. And I just started filming. You know what I mean? So I kind of had to trick myself into creating and get out of my own way.
Yeah. I think that's a common ground. Like even with the businesses you speak of, the ones that didn't get released or didn't finish, it's like there's so much to learn in just doing. And even if you don't complete or fail, it's like, or you fail, it's like, as long as I'm moving forward or in some direction, like I'm learning from it, and then the next time it's gonna be better and better, to where now, you know, you're comfortable, it's easy in front, and to run your business or to speak on camera is, it's like second nature to you. You know, and everybody's gonna start from that same point. It's just about continuing to go.
Exactly.
Yeah. In terms of, so we talked about like daily routine, you know, you wake up, maybe walk us through, like on the entrepreneurial side of things, like what kind of daily tasks are there with regards to, like, Beyond Wellness is probably more seasonal, right? But in terms of Rich Soul Foods, like there must be daily tasks that you have to kind of check off every day.
Man.
So it's crazy right now.
It's crazy right now.
Yeah.
Because in a matter of, a year, I like got up to 10 employees. You know what I mean? So I have, between like employees and contractors, you know, probably like 15 people to deal with and to manage and to prepare for on the daily, you know. So that was a huge shift for me, and something I can say like I'm just getting comfortable in that role of putting together a team.
Yeah.
You know, it's just coming together. I'm just understanding the dynamics of it. But when it comes to the daily activities, definitely start the day off without that in mind. You know what I mean? Start the day off, meditate, do a little reading, a little stretching, go to the gym, and then don't really tap into any of that until after all that. You know, but definitely, you know, looking at the sales, how are things going with that, checking in on the emails, you know, even though we have customer service, I kind of just look at it to see what's going on for the day. If there's anything that patterns, you know, anything that I see, I just kind of give it a quick check.
Yep.
And then, you know, I'm moving out of this role, but, you know, setting the team up for the day for shipping. So getting them kind of oriented and guiding the day for them to get started, get going. And then just other than that is just like setting up routines with your meetings. So I'm just learning that, to like how to have a meeting structure with my team. So like, okay, we have a daily meeting at 9:30 with some of the leadership team. And then, yeah, man, this is something for me where I'm just learning.
Yeah.
Because I like to say I'm a unconventional entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just stumbled on this. You know what I mean? Doing what I love. And then now I got to figure it out. And when I got my lawyer, I went to her and I was like, yo, I'm embarrassed. I told her straight up, you know what I mean? I'm like, yo, I'm embarrassed with how my business is. And, you know, I just want to let you know before we go get started.
Get into the gritty.
And then she just said, you know, some people, they ready, aim, fire. And then other people ready, fire, aim. So you start before you aim. But then after you start, you figure it out. So I'm in that stage right now.
Yeah.
Figuring it out. You know what I mean? How are we going to optimize the potential of everybody? You know what I mean? What are the important things for me to monitor and to track? You know, how do I build accountability into my day? Right? So that's like every evening to do planning and to think about the next day before the day starts. You know what I mean? Never start a day before it's finished. So never start the day before you've already planned it out. You know what I mean? Things like that helped me a lot, man, because, overwhelm was crazy before I started Rich Soul Foods.
Yeah.
Before I started it. And I didn't take anything away, and I started this business, got all these employees, but I'm not as overwhelmed anymore. And a lot of that is planning. A lot of that is tracking emotions, journaling, writing that down, getting clear in what's needed. You know, I have something I call the overwhelm report. When I'm feeling a little stressed, overwhelmed, let's write down everything. What is it? Why are you overwhelmed? Write it down and then get to it. You know what I mean? So these different structures, but big time organization is like a big thing for me. So every day get the planning in, every day do the journaling, and not every day, but when I'm going through certain times, I'll do it every day of tracking emotions. Like, what did you feel today? What triggered it? When you're feeling that, what do you focus on? What do you look at? How's your posture? What is the conclusion of why you're feeling that? Why? What do you believe that's making you feel that? You know what I mean? So just different things like that really assisted. And I'm really learning this day to day, what to check, what to track. You know what I mean? I'm just getting reports sent to me now so I could look at these daily reports.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's blessed, man. There was a time when I was like afraid to look at numbers. You know what I mean? Just didn't want to get tied to numbers. But no, you got to set a goal.
Yep.
And then meet that goal every day. You know what I mean? So that's been something that we've been implementing, is setting goals, having targets and metrics, just like when you're hooping, you know?
Yep.
When you go to the court, you have a certain number of shots you want to get up, you know? So I'm just learning to integrate that, because I kind of put all the hooping and athletics behind me.
Yeah.
And I kind of forgot about that life. I'm different now. But now I'm like reintegrating that. So like when you come to practice, you already know what you're going to do. You know what I mean? And you have a structure. Every training camp is the same for the most part.
Yeah.
So like I got to have an onboarding program.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So different things like that. I'm really just learning, and I'm making it more like how we set up as athletes.
Yeah. I think that's a great position to be in, like just an opinion, but it's like, you know, you have a great culture established and maybe you've been lacking in some systems, and now you're only adding more potential and like setting yourself up to be aligned for more growth. So it's going to be like prosperous, obviously.
Yeah, man, I'm excited.
It's good.
Excited.
It's good. Yeah, I had a question about, it was the, oh yeah, so we talked about like, you know, the elementary to collegiate journey. Do you have like a message for your younger self?
Message to my younger self?
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't want to take him off the path.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wouldn't want to take him off the path he was on. You know, I'm grateful for where I'm at now.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So I wouldn't want to trick him or like, you know, give him too much game.
Yeah. You might switch up and do
It
something
may switch
different.
up and do something, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm there, but just for the sake of that, I would say, just what do you need to be at your best? You know what I mean? What do you need to be at your best? And just not thinking about everybody else and what everybody else thinks of you and what everybody else thinks you need. What do you need?
Yeah.
To be at your best?
And you're still allowing him to create his own. Yeah. That's cool. Okay, so we talked about, you know, the learning process for you within your business. Outside of your business, is there something you're currently learning? And like,
Big time, man.
Yeah. So like, what do you think of those things is like going to be the most beneficial to you in the future?
For me, I would say leadership. You know, even though it is part of business as well, but just leadership is something I'm learning. And then just what I was saying about learning how to give myself what I need, learning how to love myself, care for myself, that's going to be the most beneficial thing. And partly within that, to get more specific, is how to deal with conflict sooner. You know, so, because I'm quite in tune. So I feel when something's off. I have that radar. But sometimes I won't say it or address it for some time. So I'm learning right now to be able to have those conversations and address things early on and not be afraid and not kind of hide or run from things. So I feel like that right there is going to be so powerful for me. And I think of it as like Kanye energy. You know what I mean? Where like Kanye just speaks.
Yeah.
You know, and I just want to be able to speak even more freely. I want to be able to speak and not think so much about who's listening,
Judgment.
how they're going to receive it, all that, and just speak from that passionate place. You know, so I feel that those are some things that I'm learning personally that I feel are just going to, you know, be game changers. Like, once I become in that flow, in that rhythm, oh my gosh, whatever I'm doing now is going to be 10x.
Right.
It's going to be just crazy. And then when I learn to have those conversations, it's going to help transition from one thing to the next easier. And sometimes, like, there was a time in my business I didn't want to be in my own office. I had things I had to deal with that I was not dealing with.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not a good vibe. Like, you don't want to carry that energy with you for more than 7 seconds. You know what I mean? You want to be able to deal with that ASAP. So just learning that kind of things is like super important. And then something kind of just more on the tangible side of things is I'm learning about crypto and blockchain and NFTs and Web3 and all that. And I feel that's going to be super, super, super beneficial.
Yeah. And obviously it's something we're all going to have to adapt to. It's like, how do we fit that into our current businesses or careers? Because it's going to change a lot. Right?
Exactly, yeah.
I'm overwhelmed in like kind of a deep dive of that shit too. But it's really like interesting to know, like, you see all of the innovation that's come from like Web 1 and Web 2. So you know that, you know, like, if I'm really studying this stuff, I could really make a splash in this new world that we're moving into, that we're like actually going to be able to walk through in VR and AR. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
In terms of like, I guess like brand slogans, I hear, this isn't even a brand slogan. I think that you speak on blessed love. And I've heard you explain it a couple times, and I think like it would be really powerful to have the audience hear like your take on that.
Yeah.
So it's like before and after conversations, you'll say it blessed love, and that's to address what exactly?
Well, it's just it's a Rastafari thing. You know, Bobo Shanti, Rastafari. It's that. So when I went to St. Lucia, that's how they would greet me. That's how everyone would greet each other. I'm like, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
It just felt good. It just felt good to address someone or speak to someone and they speak blessed love. You know, love. It's a reminder. So it's like when you're about to have a conversation with someone, if you're not in that energy of love and blessings and you start off with blessed love, your energy is going to shift. Either you're going to be lying when you're saying love to someone, you're going to be lying, or you're going to get correct. You know what I mean? So it's just like a pause before gaining or before gathering or conversing with someone. It's a pause and just bringing love into the space, and then just making sure you're leading all of the conversations with love.
Yeah.
And ending with love. And just honoring the God, the divine being of the person that you're talking to.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? So treating others, it's like the golden rule. Treat others the way you want to be treated. You know what I mean? So I want to be treated like royalty. I want to be treated special.
With blessed love.
With blessed love. You know what I mean? So big thing is just focusing on the language that we use, the vibration of the words that we use. And it's just one of the ways that we greet each other, and one of the words that we're mindful of that helps us be more in that blessings and that love energy and gratitude and abundance, because when we're in that state, more blessings come. You know what I mean? So the more we can be in that state, the better it is for us. So if we integrate that into our language, we don't have to think about it. We end up being in these states more naturally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because when we listen to music, it's reinforcing all these other topics, all these other words, which are harsh, aggressive, and may make you think or feel something. You know, so it's kind of just even bringing balance to that.
Yeah.
You know, and I like to shift I like to be different. You know what I mean? I like to be the guy who people, you know, they're like, yo, this guy always just says love.
Yeah.
This guy always just blessings, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden they say it. You know, so it's just something.
It's definitely contagious.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Like, in the most positive way.
Exactly, you know? So once we have our customers repeating that back to us, You know what I mean? They start their emails with that, their DMs with that.
Yeah.
You know, so it's becoming something that's spreading. And it's like, that's what we want to do. We want to spread that love, spread those blessings organically.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Not put too much trying to tell people, do something. Just be an example.
Yeah. And then the other one was high-grade healing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what does that mean to you?
High-grade healing. High-grade healing is really just that high-grade healing, like like healing at a high level and giving ourselves the best on this healing journey. So I refer to high-grade healing, the products are high-grade healing, and even like high-grade healing conversations, high-grade healing environments. You know, so it's just like that high grade, the top shelf, the best of the best with the healing.
Absolutely.
So it's not just any healing that we accept either. You know what I mean? It's the high grade healing. And then it's the high grade healers, which is like, we are high grade healers. And a high grade healer to me is just anyone who is on the journey to becoming, on the journey of healing, on the journey of loving themselves. And just knowing that they have the control over their own life, and they're going to start exercising that control and start doing those certain things that's going to help them feel better, help them live better. So a high-grade healer is someone who understands that they're in control of their life and takes the steps and the actions for them to be where they want to be. And even if you just started, if you just saw a video yesterday and you just started, you made a pact with yourself, a silent pact, you're a high-grade healer. You're already healed. Now it's just step by step, day by day, making it a reality.
That's great. This one's kind of a silly one. Is, if you could live in any Eddie Murphy movie, which one would you live in?
Eddie Murphy movie? I would have to say Coming to America, man.
Coming to America.
You know, I am Prince Hakeem, you know?
Yeah, I got you.
That is me, you know?
There's vibes, full of color, lots of travel, lots of laughter.
And royalty, you know? Black excellence, showing the kings from Africa.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? You see when he came to the U.S., just regal.
Yeah.
But then he was also humble. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was humble. He didn't want people to see that he was the king or the, you know what I mean? So I think that was super legendary.
Yeah.
That was super legendary, man.
That is cool.
And even just being in the barbershop talks. Like,
Good stuff. Prince Akeem. All right, man. Well, I don't want to take too much of your time. I know you're a busy guy, and it's still midweek, so gotta get back to the grind. You know?
Got to.
But I really appreciate you coming by. I have some products for you, specifically from Re-Up Recovery. Just some recovery stuff, lotions, all these things, help you with your add to that recovery room of yours.
Yeah, thanks.
And you know, all the best for the new year. It's blessed love all throughout, man. Like every time I talk to you, it's nothing but motivation, and it's nothing but positivity. And I really appreciate you for not only starting your brand, but for just kind of putting that on everybody that you talk to. You know. Continue to do what you do, man.
Give thanks, man. Much love.
Yep.
Likewise to you, too. I'm excited for this journey for you. You know what I mean? And just, you know, stay at it. Stay consistent. And just know that you have something for the people that they need. You know what I mean? That they want. You know, and you know, as we're here podcasting, it's like, this is bigger than a podcast now. You know what I mean? These are the new shows. This is the new radio. This is the new TV.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So give it that due nurturing. You know what I mean? And this is gonna be something beautiful, man. So it's an honor to be on here, especially on the, you know, in the early stages of it.
Absolutely.
So give thanks for reaching out, my man, and you know, looking forward to seeing the progression.